Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Athletic School podcast. Today, our guest speaker is Gonzalo Carranza. He's the head coach for Xavier University in New Orleans, where he's building a winning soccer program from the ground up. Gonzalo, thanks so much for joining me. It's a pleasure to have you here.
No, thank you, Igor. And you're pretty generous on your introduction. Starting from zero, but I guess winning.
Yeah. And I mean, we kind of crossed path way back then in Wichita. I think I went to a tryout for Wichita FC, and you were there. So tell me just a little bit about your background, because I know you're from Brazil. I know you have some Argentina in your blood as well, and now you're in the US for a while. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's funny when you mentioned we met in Wichita. At that point, I was just starting to transition myself from student athlete to coach at the adult level. But yeah, you're right. I was born in Argentina, actually. People don't know that. And I was raised in Brazil. So growing up, I was bullied by my Brazilian friends because for whatever reason, I chose to support Argentina.
Yeah, okay.
And nowadays that Argentina is having a little bit of success, people say, oh, you're going on now that they're winning, you're going on that one, right? But people don't remember when Brazil was Brazil and I was getting bullied by my friends. But so played football all my life. And when I was around 18 to 19 years old, education was still important. And let's be very honest, if I were to make it professionally, I probably wasn't going to make a living out of it. I was never really a special player or anything like that. Just worked really hard, and I just loved the sport. So just like you, came to the United States, played college soccer. I went the junior college route. Actually, I can say that I played at all three leagues. I played NJCAA, played NCAA, and then finished NAIA. But man, for whatever reason, not for whatever reason, due to mentors that inspired me, I was lucky enough to right away on my first year understand what I wanted to do long term. Because when I came here, I wanted to play pro. That's what I wanted to do. I still have that really alive in me, that dream and all. But for my surprise, it clicked and I was like, oh, I could do this coaching thing for the rest of my life. So I've been doing that. And again, when I met you in person, that's when I just started with adult soccer. So really like to summarize my coaching career. I have experience with the little ones that are just now starting to kick a ball and fall in love with the game. But I've coached men and women that maybe have represented their countries. So because of the impact that college soccer had in my life, that was the avenue that I've been striving to, pursue and continue growing. Now I find myself at Xavier.
Nice. And I mean, you already won a few things down the road. You've been in a lot of different places, coached many different players. So, and now that you're building a team from the zero, right? And even though you guys haven't won the conference yet, I personally think it's a matter of time from things that I have seen from the outside. So what do you think? What does it take to build a winning team?
Yeah, I don't think I've won enough to answer that question. And I'll tell you what, Igor. I hope that I never settle on one answer because I really think that it's an ongoing process. I, right now, with 30 years old, see things in a certain way, and where maybe 5 years later down the road, I don't see it that way anymore. I also think that maybe having a group now is completely different than maybe groups that I've had in the past or that I will have in the future. I don't think that there is a one answer, but just to kind of put some thought on that. By the way, every time I talk about football, very rarely I talk about football. Football for me is just a segment that's inside of society. So if I were to talk about a group of people that want to accomplish something, regardless of what it is, besides the hardworking, passion, right? The putting in the hours, the grinding, going through adversities, all that stuff. You know, one thing that I've been finding that's like a key, and I see some coaches, in my opinion, it's a failure when we do that. We try to like take college soccer out of society and have expectations of college soccer as its own thing. And we need to make it perfect almost. And people can't screw up. And everyone has to be on the same page. And everyone has to love each other. And there's this whole thing about team bonding and everyone has to bond. And I don't think it's like that. Like, I think that creating a winning team, a winning mentality, has very much to do with embracing our differences. If I understand how I am, and I understand how Igor is, I think that we have a higher success rate of pursuing something and achieving something than if we were to try to fix all our problems and try to be best buddies. And I think it's like we're going against what society is. Man, society has its own groups, and these groups, the only thing they have to do is to get along peacefully. But if we're not best buds, it's okay too. So if besides all the other things that I think everyone would agree, you know, you got to work really hard. You got to love what you do. You got to put in the hours. Even the days that, you know, you don't want to do it, you have to grind, you know, all that stuff. But I do think that, man, nowadays, like I look back when I played, and I feel like there was this almost fake, like culture of trying to make everyone bond. And that's not really how the world works, right? So I think that one key could be, you know, I embrace who we are and I embrace our falls. And regardless of that, I'm still going to win this with a group of people. I feel like if I were to answer that question a little outside of the box, that's kind of how I would approach it.
Yeah, no, and I think it makes a lot of sense because I see a lot of people, they come up with that one answer and they think that's the right answer for everything. And then they're like, no, they won because they were bonding outside of soccer. Or like, well, okay, maybe, but what about that team that won and those guys hated each other, but they still won everything? You know what I mean? So there is no right answer.
And there's so many examples at the highest level possible.
Yeah,
like we're just college soccer, man. This thing that we're Pep and this is Man City is mental. Like college soccer is its own thing. I think it's brilliant. But if at the highest level possible, people might not love each other and they still win, I think that it's more about embracing, like, hey, I'm different, man, than you are, and it's okay. We can still fight for each other 90 minutes on the field and win the game. So, obviously, man, like, if I could choose, I want everyone to love each other. But I also have learned to accept it. And not only players with players, by the way. I think it can be players with coach as well. I might not be the best. Like, players that don't play as much, sometimes, and you've heard this. Everyone has heard this. Coach has favorites. Yeah. I mean, coaches have favorites. If I get along very well with you, me and you on a personal level are going to have a bond that maybe I don't have with somebody else. That doesn't mean you play, though. But I just think that, I think it's acknowledging that we have differences and embracing them rather than trying to fix them at all costs. I think that can be a difference maker for sure, to creating something that wins or that doesn't win. But start of the answer was, I don't think that there's it's not an exact math. If it was, we wouldn't love the sport as much as we do, by the way.
100%. And you talk a little bit about the mental side of it, and I want to go into that. In your opinion, how much can mindset affect the outcome of the game? Like the other day, we were talking a little bit how you guys lost a game that you guys don't even know how. Do you think that there was something to do with the mindset, or I don't know, maybe you experienced something in the past that, you know, maybe, yeah, we went to the game thinking that was going to be easy and we end up losing, or the other way around? I don't know.
Yeah. That's a loaded one and it's a loaded one for me because I feel like I'm experiencing that like right now.
Yeah.
So I gave you two examples, right? And I think that at the college level, especially. So we lost the first game of the conference, and you know how we play. And a team that plays the way we play, the surface has to be the grass, right? The pitch. It has to be half decent.
Mm-hmm.
In our first game, it just wasn't. The ball wouldn't roll. It will get caught on our foot, and people say, "Oh, excuses." Yes, but also let's also talk a little bit about that because we can't completely exclude it from the picture.
Mm-hmm.
So that day, for us, and by the way, out of 14 teams in the conference, only we lost to that team.
Mm-hmm.
And it was on that pitch. And I think that other teams mentally didn't let that impact them, and we did that. We did let that impact us. We conceded 2 goals in 5 minutes, all from our mistakes, individual mistakes. We scored one, but then after that, the ball just did not go in, and we were not creating as many quality chances as we usually do in final third. And I think that it was because of the grass. So that could be a factor that impacted us mentally. Second and only game that we lost in the conference, pitch was really good, but this time we had the refs that played a part. And I don't really I don't jump into if the ref was right or wrong. Like I never really talk about any of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone is entitled of their opinion, and no one's perfect, all that. But again, it's an excuse, but it's something that we apparently didn't cope well with. Before the game, I told the boys, I said, "Look, I've had this referee before. He's really card friendly, really card happy, and you just got to be careful." And I took a kid out because he had a yellow card already, and I put another kid in. We actually saw that on the Brazilian league the other day. Guy comes in, tackles a guy, but it was not to win the ball. It was because that guy was talking trash to him before.
Oh, gosh.
So mentally, he lost that battle already.
Mm-hmm.
He just got a yellow. 3 seconds later, guy comes up, he pushes the guy. Red card. We played 55 minutes with a man down. We held our own until there was 3 minutes left in the game, and then we conceded. So things like that, man. If you're not on a day that you're mentally focused,
Mm-hmm.
if you're mentally strong, it can 100% play a part. And what I always tell myself to not become super frustrated is that, again, when I talk about football, I don't talk about football as much. I remember of me as a young man at 18, 19 years old. I'm 30 now. The way that I see stuff now is definitely not how it was when I was 18 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand, and I don't judge. All I do is I try to mold them as much as possible so that they can understand that, hey, you have a better chance of succeeding if you acknowledge these things. But the fact that they didn't react very well to the field or to the referee, it's normal, man. It's just, again, part of society and part of the growth of the individual. Now it's about, can you learn from it, right? Can you become a better human being because of the things that maybe you screwed up before? But 100% it plays a part.
Yeah. And you talk a little bit about that. I've seen you talk to the athletes. So my question for you is do you think the athlete comes first or the human being comes first? And I think I know the answer, but I want you to go into that a little bit.
Yeah.
I think it's very important, and I think that's one of the reasons why the players that you coached in the past like you and they keep a contact with you. It's because you took care of them in a way, not only because they were good players, but you're caring about the human being. And I think that's huge, and I think a lot of coaches forget about that. So does the athlete come first? Does the human being comes first? When to take care of the athlete, when to take care of the human being.
Let's think like this. I'm a human being. I'm not a robot.
Mm-hmm.
I go work. I cannot. Everyone says, "Oh, separate your feelings towards your work, separate your emotions towards your... I'm sorry, that's just not how it works. I show up to work one day and I didn't have a good day. The chances of me performing poorly at my job are greater than if I did have a good day. The human being comes first all day long. Before I ask the kid if he did good in school or if he is ready to practice, I ask him how his day was. Because if he didn't have a good day, the chances of him not performing when I need him to perform are higher. So then I sit him down. Let's talk about what happened. How can I help you? How can you overcome it? Because it's not, oh, I had a bad day, so now I'm going to have a bad day on work either. It's not that either. Like, it's not an excuse for you to do a bad job. But let's address them, right? Let's confront whatever the issue was so that you as an individual can have a higher chance to succeeding. Not only succeeding, man, but just enjoying it. Like, I love what I do. I don't know if I'm good at what I do, but I absolutely love what I do. And I want my guys to enjoy it as well. And by me saying this, I don't want anyone to think that like I'm the guru and that I can change the world and that I can change a human being. It's not that. But man, if I can try to give this kid a better chance of enjoying the moment that he's spending with us on the pitch, I'm going to try everything I can. Way before I even talk about the student or the athlete, man. Like, I want to show up to work and I want to enjoy it. And at the same time, I want this kid to enjoy it. The human being comes first. It has to come first. If the coach is all business oriented and thinks that this is just a 9-to-5 job and that all I got to do is get results, not only you're not giving yourself a good chance of having that kid perform at an extremely high level, but you're missing the point, man. Mm-hmm. Like you're just missing the point of what this is all about. I love winning games, but if your motivation is winning games, you're just missing completely, bro, of what this is about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree 100%, and I think, and when we think about being successful in the long term, we have to take care of the human being first. I think you might just be results oriented right now and you might be winning today, you might win tomorrow, next year, but trust me, in 10 years I don't think you're gonna be able to keep winning like that. I've seen coaches do it like that, and I mean, I don't mean to be negative about it, but like I'm just ready to see them fall soon enough, because you have no one on your side, because you treat everyone as a robot, as a machine, as a, as an employee. And I mean, if you don't treat me like a human being, you don't care about what I feel, you're probably not gonna be winning for a long time. So,
and I actually think that, because sometimes people might think, oh, this is a cute speech,
Yeah,
it's actually a smart business move to take care of the human being first. Yeah. Because you end up getting the best out of somebody. It's a higher chance of you getting the best out of somebody. So no, I for sure see that, man. Like, and you said the 10 years thing. I could tell right now, in 10 years, I'm gonna remember the wins, but very much, I really hope, man, that in 10 years, I don't remember the result of the game. I kind of remember who helped me get the result. Like in 10 years, yesterday we beat a team 3-0. In 10 years, don't think I'm going to remember that we won the game and who scored and how we scored. I think I'm going to remember, like I just posted something on my Instagram. Today is my assistant's birthday. I am going to remember that he's a set piece coach. That our first goal that game was of something that he worked And as soon as we scored, I got off my seat and I just went to go hug him. And I'm going to remember that, like, that human being, right? That relationship was way more important than if we won or lost the game. But yeah, for sure, the human being comes first for me.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I'm just thinking about all the things in my life right now, and I don't remember exactly, the result or anything, but I remember who helped me get here. And we talk a lot about the players, the athletes, but when it comes to you're building a team from the ground up, and I know how the recruitment works a little bit, but what do you look for in a player when you're talking to them? Like, how much do you care about their soccer skills, but also, how can you get to, I don't know, their mindset? How do you understand their mindset? How is there any checklist that you have in order to, like, okay, this is the right guy?
Yeah. And then when we start talking so much about like the philosophical, every time I speak to the boys, I go to them, I was like, okay, boys, allow me my 30-second philosophical speech here real quick. Don't get too bored.
Yeah.
It's football as well, right?
Yeah.
I need good players. I want to try to win, all that good stuff. Let's see. If I were to put like a list of how I would speak to someone and decide at the end of the day that that's the right guy for me to recruit. I'll be honest. I watch very, very, very little footage of kids. I have now, after 10 years of coaching, right? I have now grown a list of trustworthy contacts. That if someone sends me a kid and me and him kind of see soccer the same way, or maybe he understands how I see soccer and he knows what I want, and maybe he has sent me good players in the past and I had good relations, like, I'm very likely to give that guy attention. So what would I say, maybe like a tip for those that are recruiters out there? Man, build a really trustworthy relationship with coaches. That's the number one thing. And try to cultivate that as much as possible, right? Because I know that there's a lot of agencies out there. There's an overwhelming amount of agencies out there now. So like I have like a handful of people that they send me players. I'll focus on their player. I think the second thing, college soccer has become a world market. And I'm comfortable with certain markets, right? So, for example, like I have a strong background from South America. People say, Gonzalo, you have too many Brazilians. I do, but it's because I know exactly what that level is. I might even know where that pitch that they're playing is at, right? So I have a big thing on, like, what is the level that kid's playing, and how familiar am I? Or someone, for example, on my staff, we have an English guy on our staff now. Like, how familiar is he with the level? That would be the second thing. And then once we are evaluating that kid, man, I try to put it as much as possible to like our game model and how we see the game and how we want to win games, through what type of weapons do we want to win games, and does that kid have that for us? So, like, just to give a couple, we're really possession oriented. So technically, you have to be sound. Your soccer IQ has to be high, because we try some complicated things, right? Like, we're more builders than we would be destroyers, if you will. And I don't know if that's the right way, but that's just the way we are. So I need people to have the capabilities to build, rather than to destroy. At the same time, though, can they put in a shift? Are they destroyers when we do need them to be destroyers? And then just to tie briefly, because I know we talked a little bit about the human side of things, I'm really good at catching vibes, if you will. I'm speaking to somebody, and I'm like, I think that this might be a better fit for me. And that doesn't mean you being perfect. Not at all. I embrace your flaws, but it's like, do I see myself clicking with him? Not that he's perfect, but maybe can I even change him, right? Can I help him in a certain way? So who you are as a human being in that conversation, just by feeling, not really by a checklist or anything, does play a part if we recruit you or not.
That's awesome. And then we talk a lot about the human being, about the mental side and all of that, but at the end of the day, when you go to the athletic director or something, it is about the result. right? I mean, you have to win, otherwise you don't have a job. Nobody has scholarship, so it is about the result. But how can you define success beyond just winning games, right? Because you can go to the athletic director like, oh no, but this kid, he became a better person. Oh, well, they probably don't care as much. But how can you find that success, beyond the results, beyond the 3 points?
It's I'll give you a couple of different ways to answer the question. First off, I would expect my university to have a mission that is not just to win games. If it was just to win games, I don't think I would want to work at that place. So that would be my number one comment on that first part there. Like, yeah, win games, but are the kids graduating? Are the kids behaving? All that stuff I think would be important. And if it was win, it doesn't matter at all costs. I probably wouldn't enjoy my time at that place. But defining success outside of just winning for me, we talked about the 10 years. If a kid calls me to go to his wedding in 10 years, I've won. Because he could call a lot of people, man.
Yes.
But if he calls good old Coach Gonzalo now, sitting on the couch, old, watching football on the TV and say, hey, Coach, I thought about you and would love for you to make a trip for my wedding, or hey, come be my best man. Stuff like that, man.
Yeah.
Like, those are the real 3 points for me. Like, when I'm out of this world, I would really, really, really hope people remember me. Not really for the coach I was, but for the person I was. So if that guy calls me to come to his wedding, or hey, Coach, now I've graduated and I'd love to have you come over here for dinner at my house, or stuff like that, man. Like, I feel like that would be the way that I would measure it. Like, I have kids that you said that. I have kids that nowadays they call. I'm over here on the couch watching football. I get a FaceTime call, and I was like, "What does he want, man?" And we're I haven't coached him in, I don't know, 3 years or whatever, but we're chatting. Like, I had a kid that he's really special to me. He transferred because of a rule of the NAIA, and he's now playing at the NCAA level because they granted him his last year, and NAIA couldn't. Anyways, I speak to him almost every day. You probably remember him, Caio Tasqueta. He's the captain, center back. Played for us last year. Like, I chat with him all the time, and when I speak to him, like 1% is about football. We're just chatting about other stuff. So I think that just the real winning outside of just winning would be if these kids remember me of who I was as a person. If they want to be friends, I guess that that would be my answer there.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I think for the people listening, something that I want to say is, I could bring 20 different coaches here that they would say beautiful philosophical things, and it would be very good content for the podcast. The reason I thought about bringing you here is because I heard good things about you when you weren't there. Right? People were talking good things about you when you weren't there, and just seeing how your relationship with the athletes are. Because for me, words, they don't matter at all if the actions don't match it, right? So for me, it's very, very important to we can speak about all of this, but now once we turn it off, we can go out to society and do everything we just said. That's what really matters. So it is not only about the good content, and I love everything you said, but the biggest thing for me is I know that once you are off here, you're probably texting Caio. You're probably sending him a voice message and saying a bunch of things, like a 2 minute audio message on WhatsApp, and just chatting about it. And for me, that's huge because I had a friend tell me, oh, you should bring this coach or that coach to the podcast. It's going to be good content. I was like, yes, but I know they're going to say good things, but none of their what they're gonna say, it's true. Like they don't do any of that. And for me, that's just huge. And I rather, slow the growing process of the podcast, but have people that I know that they are doing what they are saying it, than to just bring people that have a good quote to share, but then at the end of the day, they don't do anything.
No, I appreciate that, Igor. Like I'm not when I speak in these stuff, like I'm really informal.
Yeah.
So I'm probably not going to be able to give you the 15-second beautiful quote with loads of likes. I'll give you the maybe a minute answer, but I truly mean it. And I'm not perfect either. Like I have a lot of growing to do, man. I love my players. I feel like my biggest downfall right now is finding that balance between personal relationship and work relationship. And it's a tough one because, like I heard one of my staff told me the other day, and I think he's right to a certain extent. He said, there's no friends in football. He told me that.
Mm-hmm.
Said, yeah, maybe you're right to a certain extent, but I really hope I never change that.
Mm-hmm.
And where maybe I just have to refine it a little bit. But I really hope that I can continue having relationships and being myself. And yeah, it's an ongoing process, man. But I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah. My last question for you. It's a question that I always ask the guest speakers. If you could share one piece of advice with the entire world, what would it be?
I don't feel I'm probably not equipped enough to address the entire world and give a tip, but
yeah,
I'll tie it to what I just said. In a world that social media and appearances are so big, just be yourself, man. Like just be true to yourself, to your values, to what your family taught you. And through being yourself, try to help others. Like I don't play soccer anymore. I feel like I'm a bit too slow nowadays, but like I went on a 5v5, just like a backyard like field, and I was sitting there all sweaty and talking to a bunch of younger guys or older guys or whatever, right? Women, men. It's like kind of like a co-ed thing. And the guy said, "So what do you do here in New Orleans? You just moved here." I said, "I coach." It's like, "Oh, really? Like youth soccer and stuff?" I was like, No. At college." It's like, "Oh, you're the assistant?" I said, "No, I'm the head coach." And then he said, "Where?" He's like, "At Xavier." I was like, "Oh, coach. You guys are doing pretty good. I heard a little gut thing." And then he like kind of changed the way he was talking to me. Not that being the coach at Xavier means anything whatsoever, but people have this idea that the coach has to be the coach. Right?
Yeah.
Just be yourself, man. That would be the advice. Walk into the room being yourself and try to help those in that room. Accept that you're not perfect and embrace who you are. That would be my biggest thing. And in a world that's so judgmental nowadays, and that image is everything, stay true to yourself and be okay with who you are.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. I love it. Gonzalo, thanks so much. Thanks for taking the time to be so quick and finding a time for us to talk. I really appreciate that.
I appreciate you, Igor. Hope everyone that listened had a good time. And I'm sorry I wasn't able to give you the 15-second.
I'm sure I can make something work.
All right, boss. Thank you guys so much.